Welcome to Inside Security, episode number 3. This week I have with me my colleague on stream. We're going to talk about security operations centers, or SOC as we'll call it from now on. So we're going to talk about what a SOC is, what we do at work, like the challenges we face, like everything about a SOC. And as always, like this is Twitch, and we're supposed to be like Twitch is interactive, right? So please ask questions in the chat as we go along. Like don't wait until the end, and we'll bring up your questions as we go along. So right, David, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So I forgot
Fun to be here. Yeah.
Awesome! It's so good to have you. It's gonna be epic, as we said on Twitter. So
well, it's nice to put the bar somewhere. So yeah, epic is a good level.
Epic is the target.
Let's aim for epic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So last week I actually forgot to ask my guest to introduce himself, so I'm not going to do the same mistake twice. So please go ahead. Please introduce yourself, and what do you do, and who are you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, my name is David Lilja. I'm working as a SOC level 3 analyst. I'll guess we get into that later. I've been with TrueSec for 2.5 years. Before that, I did 7 years at H&M. I started by developing their global technical security platform when it comes to firewalls and proxies and whatever typical security stuff you have. After a couple of years, I took over the CSIRT department, which is basically the cyber incident response team inside the company, within the company. So I was there for 7 years. Before that, I was a network and security technician at a company called Pointsys, and we did a PCI DSS approved payment service provider. We were among the first in Sweden to actually go for retail, which was pretty cool. So that's basically my past 10, 15 years of working. Prior to that, I've been a programmer in e-commerce. I've been a programmer towards the medical industry. I've actually had applications approved by the FDA in the USA. So I've dipped my toes in pretty much anything when it comes to computers. I started my career by installing Windows operating systems and Word and Excel, and showed doctors and their secretaries how to use them at a hospital. And I was patching network cables and stuff like that. So yeah, I started from the beginning and worked my way here.
That's awesome. So it's fair to say you're not a beginner to incident response and SOC and security in general.
No, I've been working with IT security for at least 10 years. And I've working in IT for at least 22, 23, 24 something years. I lost count a bit. You do that when you get older, or you don't want to admit how old you are and say 20 plus. So yeah.
Yeah, so we've been working together not too long, like 6 months something, since September last year. So exactly. It's been awesome so far.
It's been hectic. We've been doing stuff.
It's been hectic, and maybe we'll sort of touch upon some news this week, just because there's been some developments in the security sphere, to say the least. But yeah, so we work together in the SOC as level 3 analysts or threat hunters, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
We're also doing being involved in incident response, like when we get incidents and stuff, and we'll probably touch on that as well as we go.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a pretty interesting area, at least. So yeah.
So let's
dive in. Yeah?
Let's start with some set the stage, basically. What is a SOC? So a SOC is a security operations center, and
exactly, but that's just a name.
Exactly.
Because I've been thinking about this for quite a bit. And I wanted to draw a parallel actually to a space mission, because if you're going to land a rocket on the moon, you need a mission control. But what's a mission control? It's just a room. So the thing with a SOC is what you fill the room with. Well, it's just like a space mission. So you fill it with people that know stuff. You want people to make sure the rocket doesn't explode when it takes off. It shouldn't explode when it lands. It shouldn't explode on the way to the moon. So you put people there who knows how to make a rocket not explode. basically. So when it comes to a SOC, you put people there who knows how to handle certain types of incidents. You put people there who knows what should be protected in a company network and what to think about to make the life at the company that you are protecting worthwhile. They should be able to do what they are good at. I know a lot of companies have their own internal SOC, and I might have issues is a strong word, but I might not recommend it because it's going to be rather boring and dull for them. I guess they might be able to handle an incident or 2 incidents a year, the maximum, of the really fun, exciting types of incidents. Otherwise, they're just gonna acknowledge alerts that perhaps doesn't mean anything really. So when you kind of outsource the SOC, you will outsource it to a company who has a lot of experience. And with that, they are working with several companies. So the level 1 analyst and the level 2 and the level 3, like Mikael and me, we are going to do so many incidents, and we are always going to be on our toes and know how to handle stuff when shit hits the fan. So yeah, what's a SOC? It's a room. That's what it is. And then you need to decide on your mission with the SOC. The mission Mikael and I has is to detect and minimize the impacts of a cyber attack and a cyber incident, basically. So that's a SOC to me. It's just a room filled with people. It's like that old airplane movie. Do you remember it? We need to get this man to a hospital. A hospital? What is it? It's a big building with a lot of people in it, but that's not important right now. So I mean, it's a SOC. It's just a room or a building with a lot of people in it that knows what they're supposed to do. They know their stuff. They know their shit. So that's a SOC. Yeah,
I absolutely agree. And like, we usually don't really say that. I'm not really sure how we phrase it, but we're not just a SOC. We're like detect and response kind of.
Detect and disarm. Detect and disarm are the words we're using. Yeah. No, it's okay.
I should know that, right?
Yeah, you should. Oh, it's only 6 months. Okay, I've been here 2.5 years, so I'm the old guy. Yeah. I'm the gray-haired old guy. No, 2.5 years is pretty new actually on the company as well. But no, we call it detect and disarm because we take pride in detecting it as fast as we can and actually disarming the attack, disarming whatever malware or that comes in to make a minimal impact for the user that are working there. So yeah.
So we're like, obviously we're disarming and detecting stuff, but like, how do we detect it? So
and what is it?
Yeah, and like, just to sort of again set the ground rules or stage basically. So we're an EDR SOC. So we monitor and act on EDRs, which we use Carbon Black, CrowdStrike, and Microsoft Defender for endpoints.
Yeah, EDR is endpoint detection and remediation. Response, sorry. Detection and response.
Yeah, I always get that R wrong. Sorry, man.
Yeah, because we are remediating with the tool that we have. Yep. Responding is, I guess, good word as well. But EDR is endpoint detection and response.
Maybe it should be EDRR. Like
EDRR.
Yeah, it might be a better word for it.
Look at the EDRR.
Yeah, so that's the tools that we look at basically. And go ahead.
And but if we talk a bit about those tools, I mean, you could take them out of the box and you can put them there, and some of them won't do anything. Some of them will do a little bit, and some of them will do a lot, depending on what tool you choose and how you use it, basically. But a couple of EDRs gives you kind of a good protection, but it doesn't really give you the chance to customize it. So if you run into a security blog where some researchers have said that, oh, this IP is very malicious, or this type of string that we found in this type of attack for if you check your web proxy logs or web application firewall logs, check for this. And you can't really add that to certain types of EDRs. So you will miss a bit, and you will hope that the vendor for the EDR will give you the protection you need, and you can check it every Friday afternoon to see that the check light is green, and then you can go home. But the EDRs that we choose to work with gives you a lot of customization. One of them actually doesn't give you shit until you put stuff into it. It will just sit there, and no alerts will come. So if you choose that one and use it wrong, it's not going to give you anything, unless it's going to give you a big hole in your budget, but it's not going to give you anything else. So we take a bit of pride in actually finding a lot of vulnerabilities and bad stuff on the internet. And when it comes to that, the company that we work for, we are doing a huge amount of incident response engagement every year. And we take every finding from those engagements and we put them into detections and watch lists and whatever they're called in different types of products. And we put them there. So we protect all our customers from all the incidents basically that we are working with. So I would say it's some sort of herd immunity if we get enough customers, but that's probably not going to work like that. And it's a stupid wording as well. But the more incidents we handle, the better protection will our customers have.
Yeah, because that's pretty awesome. So like we could have an incident, and what we mean when we say an incident is that a company has been breached or compromised in some way. And then they contact TrueSec, and they need a bunch of people to jump on it and do incident response and forensics and all that stuff. So that's what we mean when we say an incident. It's like a week-long engagement. Usually.
Stuff is burning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or like some company has been completely ransomware. Everything is just down. Like the whole business is down.
Yeah, you're thinking about if they're about to toss in the towel and say, yeah, let's go bankruptcy. Let's call it an end and let's stop doing whatever we're doing. But so far we've managed to save those. We've helped.
Yeah. So that's what we mean when we say an incident. And like the results from those incidents then gets what do you call it? Like exfiltrated all the good stuff, all the IOCs and stuff that we can detect on, and behavior and everything.
Yeah. So. Let's just say the IOC is an indicator of compromise, and it can be a malicious URL, it can be an IP address, it can be a pattern, it can be a hash of an exe file, it can be anything that you can attribute to the attack, basically. So worth mentioning, I guess.
That's awesome. No, so that's really good. So we take that and then we just put it back into our EDR tools.
Yeah.
So like we could have an incident this week. That is maybe we can see something new behavior, and then we just have it in our own detection tools like a few days after, or the same day. So
the same day if it's really bad and we feel like working a lot. So for example, when Microsoft release a patch and patching a vulnerability like they did 2 days ago, it means a lot of work for a level 3 analyst at a SOC. Because you take all those blog posts and you compile them into IOCs. You extract all the hashes and all the IP addresses and all the patterns, folder paths, and what you should look for. And you make a rule out of it and you squeeze it into the tool and push it out to all the customers.
And basically what you say is if this happens in this environment, like we need an alarm.
Yeah.
So please just flare an alarm at us.
Exactly. But that's the fun part, because if we don't do it, we will not get an alarm, and the organization that we are supposed to be protecting will be hacked.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that. Now we sort of talked about what a SOC is. So why should you have a SOC? Why shouldn't you just do it yourself? Why, like, should you have a managed SOC, or should you run it by yourself, or isn't it enough with just an AV?
No, it's not. And that one is pretty easy to explain, I guess, because an AV is capturing files known to be malicious. It will capture that suspicious FileZilla download that also contains a potentially unwanted application or commercial redirection software or whatever that might come with the download and installation. The AV will take care of that. But an EDR does so much more, because during an attack, and I know this is this is your side of the table, Michael, but an attacker can use tools already inside the computer. Sometimes you don't have to download stuff. You can use stuff that's already there, that's already signed by Microsoft. So if an attacker starts the command prompt and pings an IP address, is that malicious? It's probably just some network technician trying to find a printer in a room far, far away, right? Yep. But if the address is on the internet, is it still bad? No, it's probably someone pinging ntp.kth.se, which is one of the best NTP service in Sweden. So it can still be a good thing, but it can be malicious. And the thing within EDR is that you can actually detect just that. You can detect someone using valid signed tools, but they use them in a different way. So I'm going to steal this one from you, Michael, but this is actually Michael's stuff. So if an attacker runs Who Am I on a computer, the problem having that computer is the person is probably senile, like me, old, 40 plus years, because I have no idea who I am on this computer. So I type, who am I? To know, oh, I'm David. Oh, geez, good thinking. So what I mean is that command can be malicious. That command isn't malicious. It's not going to be, the AV is not going to raise an alert saying, oh, someone is typing, who am I? Because a network technician or a systems administrator might use that to see, am I root? Am I admin on this machine? Or am I still in user context? Can I do my stuff? Or do I need to elevate? So that's why they run the command. But if they run the command, who am I? And then run something else like IP config or a different netcat, whatever, and then ping, and they do it in a certain way with a certain delay between the commands, you can actually know that this stuff is malicious. And that's where the EDR come in, because you can find those patterns using an EDR, but the AV is completely screwed when it comes to it. But it's also not meant to be like that. The AV is not designed to do it. The AV is designed to protect the attacker on a machine downloading malicious software and stuff. And the EDR is made to detect those patterns, basically. Yeah. That wasn't the short version.
But it's super. I mean, we have time, so just
yeah, that's good.
And I'm just going to quote an awesome colleague of ours about this topic when we're talking about if there's a user that runs Who Am I, ipconfig, netstat, ARP, like that is probably strange, because like he said it, if you don't know who you are or where you are, it's probably malicious.
Yeah.
I've stolen that quote.
It's an awesome quote, and it's by Rasmus.
Yes.
But it's an awesome quote.
Yeah, I loved it. I just stole it right away. Like, yep.
Yeah.
Written that one down.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I'm gonna steal it from now on.
Yeah, it's awesome.
If you don't know who you are or where you are, you're probably a bad guy. You're doing something malicious. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
And it's so true.
Yep.
And so naturally, like our SOC and like other SOCs as well. Like we're not talking about our SOC only. We're talking about SOCs in general here.
Yeah.
And like a managed SOC is a 24/7, like 365 SOC. And like that's one of the biggest values that I see, because it can be like an attack can be fast.
Oh yeah.
And like if you have your own SOC and that guy leaves at 5 p.m. and then comes back at 8 the next morning, I mean that's a long time. We've seen
or leaves for the weekend, or I mean that person can leave for a Swedish fika, for a cinnamon bun and a coffee at 3:15 on a Friday and come back like 3:45. That's 30 minutes, and that's all it takes for an attacker to actually be domain admin.
Yeah.
So yep.
Because we've seen instances, and like it's of course not like an existing SOC customer, but which came in as instant customers, that it went from the phishing mail entering the inbox to the main admin within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how fast it can go. So like it can happen during your lunch break, basically.
Yeah, it can.
So I mean, that by itself is the value of a 24/7 SOC.
Exactly, and hoping that not everybody in the SOC goes for lunch at the same time, because they like the company and like to hang around cool people. So of course they take lunch and shifts and so on. So yeah, a SOC is a room filled with smart people, good tools, and they are monitoring the systems every second of the day and every day of the year.
Yeah, and something else that I've mentioned, not on here, but like in general, is that because I'm really impressed with our level 1 analysts, because they sit and like they manage alarms day in and day out, like thousands and thousands and thousands of alarms. So they get this. I mean, they get this feel for when something is like strange or not. Yeah. And there's been cases where they've like asked me to like, hey, can you look into this alarm? And like initially I couldn't see anything like obviously bad. I'm like, yeah, not sure that it's just any specific reason you ask. And they're like, it feels wrong.
Yeah.
And like when they say it feels wrong, I'm like, yep, okay, let's dig into this. And you know, there's been like real stuff at times. So that's also awesome. Like that's the
that's super awesome. And I'm actually really proud of everybody in the SOC working for us. So yeah, kudos to them, definitely.
So what are some form of alarms or attacks that we can see and sort of catch in the SOC? Do you have any examples or like in general?
Yeah, I guess one of the things that you will see if you sit in the SOC and work in one of those shifts, you will see what we call PUA, potentially unwanted applications. Those can be nifty little programs that has been bundled with another program. I love to bash on FileZilla because it's a really good tool, but it comes with a lot of shit if you get it from the wrong place. So if you download that and try to install it, the AV will probably capture it, snag it and say, hey, don't do this, or this is malicious, and it will raise an alert. But one of those, there are other things you can download as well, of course, but potentially unwanted applications. I'd say I think that's one of the most common things, and people clicking phishing links. Hopefully the EDR will catch it at an early state, but if it's a spear phishing attack, so the difference with phishing and spear phishing, if we were going to go into that, is spear phishing is someone who's actually aiming at you. Phishing is just throwing the net out and see what it catches, but spear phishing is someone aiming directly at you. They are meant to hit you and they really want to get in. So if they spear phish you and you click the link and you get to one of those Microsoft Office portal login pages, you type your credentials, you hit enter, the page reloads, so you just type it again, and then it reloads and actually sends you to the real Office page where you have to type it the third time. Then you're owned. Then the bad guys or the threat actor, they have your credentials and they will use them to log on. So those are probably quite common as well, I would say. The broader ones, the normal phishing pages. I know a lot of companies that are pretty quick by labeling them as bad. So if you have a web proxy, you will get like an update like super often with more and more pages coming in all the time. So and I know the browser vendors also have this sort of filter where you can say this site is not trusted, this site is known bad. So you can trust that a bit. But you will see those alerts. They will come in, they will be quite boring to handle because they can potentially lead to something really bad, but you will catch them at such an early state if you have an EDR and have the man SOC. So they're probably boring to work with, but imagine that they are actually turn into a ransomware attack. Then they could be that's more fun to know when you kill them at an early stage, that I just nailed this threat actor before it turned into a ransomware attack. So I think that's pretty common as well. Some things, malware, just bundled malware, I guess, when someone surfs to the wrong site or download what they think is a key generator for Adobe because their finance department said, no, you can't have this application, but I need to do my work. So they download a keygen and they install it anyway. You will see those, I guess. You will see the average person on a Friday evening downloading a movie for the weekend. Depending on the industry that you are monitoring, you will see links to unsolicited material. Let's put it like that. Not safe for work links. You will see those links. They will appear in the logs. What more do we have? We have...
I have a public service announcement. Don't download. don't download keygens. Just
No, don't
tip of
download
the day.
keygens. No, yeah, seriously, don't do it. Buy the legit stuff. It might cost you like $1,000 to buy that application, but it's pretty cheap if you compare it to a $30 million ransomware attack. That could actually be the potential or the outcome of you downloading this keygen. Yeah, it's worth thinking about at least. Then we have the other types. I mean, you will see a lot of different types of attacks if you're working as some sort of analyst in a SOC. So I'm not sure how much we should go into every type of attack, but you will see a lot. Some are more common, some are not.
And like we don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't really see much like ransomware live on system. But it's basically because we stopped them at an early stage. Not we as in you and I, but an EDR in general. Like a well-configured EDR in block mode will actually stop it like before it actually like triggers that bad like a ransomware. But then
that's true.
And then there's another topic that I find interesting, which is hard to explain, I think, to people not in security or in like SOC stuff. And that's like, and I think I speak for most people here, but like the fun part of this and like the interesting alarms are the bad ones, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
most definitely.
The reason we do this is because we do not want companies to be hacked. Like that's it. But I mean, it's interesting when it happens. It sounds like a paradox, but I sort of compare it to like a firefighter. I mean, of course, you have the pyromaniacs, but like in general, firefighters don't want buildings to burn down with like people in them. Like I'm fairly sure that 99.99% of firefighters are like this. But when the alarm hits and like they have to like go out on an actual like fire, like that's exciting for them, I suppose. Like that's the reason they do this. That's the adrenaline kick and everything. So let's hope saving lives is the thing they have on their mind when they go. And it's sort of the same here. I mean, we're not talking about lives in that like matter of fact, but like we don't want bad stuff to happen. But when it happens, it's quite fun to investigate. So
it is, and it's. I mean, it's hard to admit it because when it happens, it's something bad, and someone is bleeding money. Someone's production is standing still. Workers might need to go home. Maybe they'll have their salary cut because they can't perform their tasks. So it's really, part of me is like, this is really bad. I never hope anything happens actually. But the other part of me that actually made me choose this job is like, let's hope something happens so we can do something. But the thing is, the most fun is when we actually can, in an early stage, protect a company, so they won't go bankrupt. So they still can keep their jobs, so they still can earn their money, pay for their food, pay the mortgages on the house, and keep the car and all that. That is basically what we're telling ourselves that we are doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and like of course, I sort of try to explain like, of course I work as a very technical job, but like to me, I work with people. Like I'm working for the people, for the end user, so they don't get hit and they don't get like their company doesn't go bankrupt, as you say, and they don't get fired. Yeah. Like that's the reason I do this.
I'm looking at the chat actually, and Darudi has a good comment and say that the SOC can actually save lives. Just think of the attacks on hospitals' infrastructure. And we've seen the NHS being under serious pressure a couple of years ago, and we had a ransomware attack in Germany where a person actually lost his life due to some medication things standing still. So it absolutely a SOC can save lives if you're protecting and working for a hospital. So yeah.
Yeah, just imagine like a completely ransomware hospital. Like that's in COVID times and like
NHS a few years ago.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah, so Astron in chat said, I downloaded a cracked Photoshop a couple of weeks ago and installed it on a Sandbox Win 10 just to see what it did, and wow.
Okay. Okay, I love the ending just to see what it did. Because
Yeah.
if you stop reading that comment before it's completely done, it's just bad. It's just super bad. And wow, yeah. So there you go then.
Yeah.
You know what it did. It's a good thing to test it in a sandbox machine.
Yeah, I'm paying for it, so that's okay. We don't judge. It's okay.
Yeah, then it's research, and
Exactly.
research is legit. So yeah, what you should do is you should write down what it did. It doesn't have to be super technical. Write down what it did. Do some screenshots of I don't know, TCP dump or whatever. If it tries to call home, if it changes some register keys or I don't know, the things you can find. Write it down, put it in a blog post, and publish it. And that will be your start on a security career. And the thing is, sometimes I actually get scared of publishing stuff or writing stuff because the things I read are most of the times so damn technical and so damn low level that I feel like, what the frig am I doing in this industry? I know nothing. But I think we need more people that writes easier blog posts, that writes the just scratch on the surface.
Yeah.
Like a keygen. So I downloaded this keygen. It alters this reg key for persistence and it contacts this C2 domain. So if you install this and run it, it will actually be pinging home and the attacker will come to get your machine. So you might end up with ransomware. I mean, that's a blog post. It can be a half a page, some screenshots, some comments. We should have more of that. So I encourage you, Astron85, do it.
Yeah, we touched upon that, like I think the previous episode when you weren't here, but like how to sort of get into security. And I said that one of the things you can do is, because that was more of on the offensive side, and we were like, we'll do hack the box and do write-ups, and you can just translate it to the blue team like we are, and like you can do things like this if you're not working in security already. Like that's a good way to like gain a portfolio of some sort.
Yeah.
Like do stuff like this. Write it up. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Maybe it shouldn't be super complicated. And then, like, when you apply for a job, and they're like, "Oh, so do you have a GitHub or something that we can look at?" Like, yeah, well, I have this blog or I have this GitHub repo with like all my investigations.
Yeah,
like you're already hired.
I'd like to learn. Yeah, and I'd like to learn more. And I'd like to, as you can see, I know how to write stuff, but I want to write longer stuff, and I want to write more stuff. So I want to learn to keep doing this. So it doesn't have to be like super professional to start with, but
yeah.
So yeah.
Or maybe Astron is like a super senior mega researcher.
Probably,
like we have no idea.
Russian spy, hacker, whatever. He's here to just profile us. So yeah.
Awesome. Welcome, Astron.
I hope my lights won't blink. Then I know he's here.
So,
or she. Sorry for thinking you're a guy.
Yeah. But about SOCs, let's go back to SOCs. There's different kind of SOCs, right? We are an EDR SOC, as we said.
Yeah.
And I'd say that like it's the minority of SOCs are EDR SOCs.
I think so. Yeah.
The majority are SIEM SOCs or SIEM SOCs. I'm not sure how
SIEM
to pronounce it.
SOCs.
SIEM SOCs.
I think you pronounce it SIM I think it's pronounced SIM in English or American. Yeah. In Sweden we say SIEM.
Yeah.
Pronounce the E. Yeah. SIM.
So what's the difference between SIEM SOC and an EDR SOC? Like very briefly, you don't have to go super detailed. If you don't want to. If you do, please do.
Yeah.
Go nuts.
I mean, I hope the audience brought popcorn and some soda pop, because this is going to be a wild ride.
Is this going to be a rant or an explanation?
I have no idea. I haven't prepared anything.
Let's see.
So it's going to be spontaneous, just from the top of my mind. I have issues with SOCs selling SOC as a service, and all they do is fire up a SIM. That's what they do. And then they say, you need to send your logs to this instance. Send them here. And it's like, okay, well, what are you going to detect? Because we touched on that in the beginning. The mission for a SOC is to detect. And I know that there are SIMs. They are very proud of what they do, and they have detection capabilities, and I don't trust them. And the thing is, I've been working with Splunk for 7 years, not at Splunk, but I've been working with the product for 7 years. I'm fairly confident to say that I know what it does and what it can't do. And it can't do detection. And if there is a Splunk salesperson in this chat right now, they're gonna have their water, Coke, coffee, beer, wine in their throat, spitting it all over the kitchen table and saying, what? And yes, you have enterprise security as an add-on. It will cost you a shitload of money. It's horrendously expensive, and it can do detection. But if I attack a company and I poke around a bit and I see that they have a Splunk instance, I'm going to disable one of the log sources that I know goes to the Splunk. And your detection is gone out the window, across the rooftops and away, to quote Duran Duran. You will lose everything. And the thing is, an EDR will catch that threat actor before they can go into the environment and disable the log source. I know people will say that the SIEM will do the same, but I'm very confident that it can't. It's a sales pitch that won't fly. I've been poking holes in it for years now, which is super fun. And the main argument is that for this SIEM to work, you need to log everything there, and you will need... It's such a fragile system, because for it to parse the logs, the timestamps needs to be fully correct. And I know sometimes a Windows machine can have some hiccups, and if you've checked the logs on a Windows machine that sometimes have hiccups, you will see a flood of Kerberos tickets alarms saying that it can't log in, it can't log in, it can't log in, it can't log in, and it's just page up, page down with stuff, and that will set off stuff in the SIEM, and at the same time it won't make it actually through that alert and alarm. And what made me very happy actually a couple of days ago or a week ago, I don't remember when it was that I was actually reading up on what SANS has to say about security operations and how to protect your environment. And if you just look at the table of contents, it says SIEM. And I was like, oh my God, please, no, SANS, you're supposed to be like the brainiacs of cybersecurity. You're supposed to know this stuff. Don't make me write an angry letter to you. Because I'm the old the grumpy guy with a cane writing angry letters to people. So I scrolled down, and it basically said that what you should feed your SIEM with is EDR logs. And I was like, you got this, nice. Because that, if we back up to why should we have an EDR? Why should we not just have an AV? Well, we should have an AV because it does stuff, and we should have the EDR because it does other stuff. And we should have a SIEM because it also does different stuff from the EDR and the AV. I mean, you're not taking away the AV because you have a SIEM. And you shouldn't take away the EDR because you have a SIEM, because they're not the same. They're super good at doing different things. When we come into a incident response engagement,
Are you saying that tools has different uses?
Tools? Yeah. I mean, if you take a screwdriver and hit the nail really hard, it works as a hammer. But you can make it more efficient if you use a hammer. I mean, yeah, monkey see, monkey wrench, monkey hit, monkey do. I don't know. But what I'm getting at, when we are getting into an incident response engagement and the customer says, well, here's your login to the system, here's login to this and that system, here's the login to our SIEM. That will make us super happy, because hopefully we will find everything we need to take care of the incident by just searching through those logs. A SIEM, you should have a SIM. I'm not here saying you should toss your SIM out the window because it's expensive as fuck and doesn't give you anything. It does give you a lot of stuff, but you need to know what it gives you. It doesn't give you EDR functionality. It will never do, but you should have your EDR logging to the SIM. You should have your AV logging to your SIM. You should have your proxy logging to the SIM. The DNS logs, oh my God, for God's sake, log your DNS to the SIM together with the PowerShell events logging in every bloody Windows computer. Just push everything to the SIM. The more the merrier, because it's such a vital place to do correlation and do investigations when you come in to handle an incident response engagement. So for God's sake, have a SIM, but don't take away the EDR because you have a SIM. That's what I'm saying. That was a rant, wasn't it?
It was a rant.
It was a grumpy old guy.
That's a good rant.
Okay,
and so I mean, it's like different tools has different use cases. Like you don't, in my opinion, you don't use a SIM as a SOC, and you don't use an EDR for logging purposes, etc., etc. I mean, that's
true.
Like one of the shortcomings of an EDR is that it usually only goes back like 30 days. So if you need to go back like 180 days or even a year, like an EDR won't really help you. And
PCI-DSS says that you need to have logs readily available for 13 months, because in 13 months you can go back a year. You have 1 month to go back 1 year. So that kind of you need to have a SIM.
Yeah, exactly. So it sounds like we're sort of bashing on SIM and Splunk, and like I love Splunk.
I am bashing on them because you're using them.
You're using it wrong.
Yes, I would bash on a person using a screwdriver as a hammer as well, because it's just stupid. So if you use the SIM solution, as Darudi says, there are more expensive SIMs than Splunk, but Splunk is kind of well known, so you can bash it. But you have QRadar, ArcSight, and whatever, Logpoint, Tipping Point, or I don't know. There are so many, but use it right and use it for what it's supposed to be used as. Don't force it to make. Don't force it to make stuff that it's not supposed to do. I mean, like I was on a stage a year ago when I did this correlation. Basically, I don't like when organizations purchase a SOC and end up with a SIM. That's like going to the shop and saying, I want a watchdog to guard my house. And when you come home and open the box, it's a hamster. I mean, it's super cute to look at and it's fun to see watching it run around in his wheel, but it's not going to protect your house. But it's a cute animal and it's still nice to have one. Just like a SIM, it's nice to have one. But it will not defend your house.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, end of rant. Sorry.
Good rant. I love it. I think like that's a long rant and a long explanation of the difference between a SIM and an EDR. We could have just stopped in the chat like 10 seconds after you started ranting with Silica's explanation. One is fun, the other is logs.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, that's just it. That's
head on a nail. You should be here. Why am I here? Why isn't Silica here?
Well, he's moderating, so he's busy.
Okay.
I mean, someone has to do the hard work, right?
Yeah, right. Kicking out the bad guys, even from this chat.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're still here, you're good. Yeah, okay.
So like in other words, I mean, of course we love EDRs because that's what we work with and we're biased. But so an EDR is not like the be all end all for everything security related. That's what we're trying to say. Like, depending on your needs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have to follow like a rule set or something, if like PCI-DSS, it pretty much states that you need to have a log retention system. So you probably need a SIM. And there are probably other rule sets that you might follow or live by that basically says that you need to have a SIM. But just don't think that's an EDR. The EDR should log to the SIM.
Yeah. So, I mean, our SOC, has a really, really flow between our like teams in the company, right? So we go we can get an incident into the company, which then turns into a SOC customer, or a SOC customer can turn into an incident, and like vice versa. So we have a really good like trade-off between the teams.
Yeah.
And like and that's one of the reasons I say for having a managed SOC, because I think that most companies are sort of like ours. If you have a managed EDR SOC, like they have some form of incident response. I'd hope.
I think so. Yeah.
So if the SOC like catches something and they see that, oh, this is bad. I mean, it could be, well, let's say there's a web shell uploaded on a web server, and the EDR blocks the web shell. It gets deleted. I mean, end of story, right? Like, no, because like how did the web shell get there, right?
Yeah. And who put it there?
Exactly. So there's some vulnerability somewhere, and someone placed that web shell at that place. Yeah. And that needs to be investigated, because otherwise it's gonna just keep on popping back.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the cases where that could turn into an incident, where the incident response team comes in and like tries to do forensics, and there could be like small stuff, or like really like week-long engagements.
Yeah, I really like the take on that, because as you say, a finding in the SOC could actually turn out to be an incident response engagement. But the other way around is also true when it comes to TrueSec, where we work, because I know some other companies who have incident response in their catalog. So you can call them up and they can come over and they will do incident response, but they will just look at that incident. They will just look at those systems. They will write the report and they will head out the door, charge you a shitload of money and say goodbye. And you're still not sure if those systems they were investigating were the only ones that actually were affected. There might be sleeper systems. There might be other things that they forget to look at. So when we come to an incident response engagement, we will actually bring the SOC with us. We will enroll this company, either if it's just temporarily for 2 weeks, if it's just a shorter time period. We will enroll the SOC in our way. We will put all our IP into it. We will try to find everything, just like it would be any of our other customers. We will treat this incident response customer just like any of our other customers. The SOC will be the man SOC, the level 1 analyst. They will be on their toes, finding stuff. And as soon as something pops up and says ping, they will give us a call. They will give Mikael, me, or any of our incident responders a phone call right away, saying, we found this. Here's another machine. We think it's new. Might be false positive. Can you please investigate it? And a lot of times it's actually a valid alert. We haven't found all the systems during the incident response engagement. Well, at the start of the incident response engagement, we might think it's a X number of machines. But when we enroll this company using the EDR and using the techniques that we have to find stuff, we will find more machines. So we will just add them to the lists for cleaning and reinstallation and so on. And I really like that trade-off or that interlinked, that connectivity that we have between the departments, because everything we find during this incident response, we will push back into the SOC and we will actually level up the protection for all our customers. And so as soon as we find something at our customers on a normal daily basis, we will feed that right back into the incident response team, so they know what to look for next. So it's give and take, and it's like this maintenance wheel just spinning all over and spinning really fast. So yeah, it's really an iterative process. Just it is.
It's like the definition of it.
Yeah.
So unless you want to continue that, it's something that's quite interesting. It's sort of been a theme so far. It's only been 2 episodes, but let's keep the theme going, because I love to sort of try to help out wherever I can, and I want to get more people into security. And I mean, we're on the blue side here, so I figured, and I'm putting you on the spot here, and we'll do it together. But
no, go ahead, put me on the spot. Yeah.
So for someone who wants to get into IT security, they want to get the first role as a security something. Let's in this case, because we're talking about SOC, the first role as a level 1 SOC analyst, like what do you need to know? What do you need to do? Is there any resource they should like read or look at or try, or just do you have any like ideas?
Yeah, I think everything you need to know is on the internet and it's probably free. There are courses you can take which costs a lot of money, but most of the stuff you can actually learn for free if you know where to look and know what to find, look for. I usually, when someone says, "Can you give me an advice? I want to be in cybersecurity. What's your best advice?" My best advice is to be curious and never stop learning. Those are actually the two best advice I can give anyone in any field, because cybersecurity is about being curious. It's about taking apart stuff in a controlled manner, so you know where you should put your findings, or you know where you should put your protection. Oh, so you take this one apart like this, and then this comes out. Then we should protect against this by doing that and this and that. And that comes hand in hand with never stop learning. If you have a dull time at work, bring up Wikipedia, look up TCP/IP, read up on it, how it actually works. Google whatever latest attack that is in the news. Bring something up and read on the latest. Go into the CV database. Just take the highest ranking one the last 2 months. That will keep you busy for a while. But yeah. Read up on them. Google them. How do they work? Is there a proof of concept that you can download from GitHub? Probably 99% of the time there is. You can go on Microsoft's webpage. You can download operating systems for free to run them for 30 days, 90 days, or 180 days, depending on which one it is. Use that. Install the server. Try the proof of concept code. Add your own detection in a way, and try to learn from it, and try to this is how the attacker thinks. This is how the attacker works. And you can start. You don't have to start with the most sophisticated attacks. You can start by just learning cross-site scripting. There's just so much to read. Yeah. And there's only 24 hours a day. I wish they were longer and the Earth didn't spin so fast. So you get to read everything. The thing is with the security field, it's super wide. It's like when you look at it from the outside in the beginning, you say, I'm gonna do cybersecurity. That seems cool. And then you dive in, and then you realize that I can spend my life taking apart the Windows kernel. And that can be the only thing that you're doing, and you can be super good at it. But it will keep you busy for a very long time. And you will miss all the other bits. Because we usually talk, we never really say it, but there's a soft side and a hard side. And the soft side is the information security. You can read up on all there are so many ISO standards when it comes to IT security. You can read up on all the NIST stuff, and you can be you can be an advocate for that. And you can travel around to company after company, just teaching them how to use it. And you barely have to touch a keyboard. But then you can be the really techie, nerdy person as well inside security. So there are so many things to choose from. So you have to decide quite early on, where do you want to spend your time? And if you don't know, just go to Reddit and read in the security subreddit, or just search for stuff and see if something pokes your mind in a bit and says, "Oh, this is interesting." Then you're onto something, and you should dive deeper. And when it gets hard, don't give up. So yeah.
That's really good. It's one of my pet peeves when it comes to job announcements and stuff, or job openings, is And like as you said, I think that security can be overwhelming because it's such a broad array of stuff that you need or should know, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at a job ad for something that you're like, so I need to know these like 10 bullet points and this and this and this, and these are like, oh, the nice to have skills are also super wide. And I just keep on telling people that this is a wish list. Like think of this as like when you were a kid and you wrote your own Christmas list. Like you literally like mentioned everything you wanted, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you had one of those catalogs and you was just like, I want this Lego thing, I want this car, I want this, yeah.
Exactly. This is exactly the same thing. Like if you did that, like if your Christmas list is like a 20 item long list, like you'd be happy if you got 5 of those, or like,
or
like, that'd be awesome, right?
Yeah,
and
even just one could make you happy. Like, I got the top one. Yeah, okay.
And it's the same with job ads, and like companies keep on doing that because everyone else keeps doing it. So they just list a long list of things that, and you're not supposed to know everything. Like if you know some of them, like that's good. I mean that's good enough. You don't need to know everything. So don't be afraid of actually applying for a job. I mean, you never know.
Exactly.
So it's one of my pet peeves.
Yeah, we have a good thing in the chat again. It's from Inside Security Fan 401. So the quote goes, So it says, so do you need a bachelor to get into cybersecurity? So let's start with that one. It depends. It seriously depends on where in the world you are. If you're based in the US or in Hong Kong, I have experience from those 2 places. Yes, you probably need a bachelor to get your entry-level job, which is sad in a way. But if you're in Sweden, you probably won't. I did the elementary school, and after that, I did our own version of high school, which is not really high school, but let's call it high school for good sake. I did 4 years. That was before, because I'm old, and that was before they remodeled it and redid it. So now it's just 3 years. So it's 3 years after elementary school now. I did 4 years. And after that, I did the military service as a cryptographer. Apparently, I was quite good with numbers and letters. So I did 10 months of military service, and then I landed my first job after that, which was patching network cables, installing Windows, teaching doctors how to use Word. It was boring, but I would actually say that if you're looking for an entry-level job, you want to get into security, I would say start in a help desk. And I know people will look at me and say, you're frigging nuts. Come on. The help desk of a company is the hub. It's the center. And you will get to know a lot of people if you work at that center, at that hub, in the middle of everything. You will talk to a lot of people, and you will get to know all the different departments. You will get to know a lot of different people. And if you stay curious and if you never stop learning, just shoot questions at them. Ask them when they call in, I have a problem with my computer. Yeah, okay, where do you work? Oh, I work in this and that department. Oh, is it fun? Do you like it? Yeah, I do. Okay, what do you do every day? I'm fixing your problem now, but let's chat for a bit. What do you do every day? Do you like it? Because I'm interested in doing something. I'm not going to sit here for 20 years, but I mean, be interactive and talk to them, and they will probably just open up and say, yeah, sure, I do this. This is fun. And I do this. This is not so fun. But so that's why I usually say start at the help desk. If you need an entry level, it's your first job. Start at the help desk. Try to survive 6 months. As long as a year is really good. And try to learn as much as you can from every system you touch, from every person you talk to. Learn as much as you can, because that will give you a basis to jump from. And if you're really keen on getting into security, and this is before COVID or after COVID, just bloody hell walk up to them. If you have a 15-minute coffee break, bring your goddamn mug and just knock on their door if it's closed or whatever. Just find out who they are and ask them and say, I read this in the news. Can you explain it to me? Because I'm super interested in learning. And if you don't understand, say that. Okay, you're going too fast. Can you make it more easy for me? Because I'm learning. I'm new here and I want to learn. I mean, I want to be like you. But I think that's a really good advice. And sometimes it's quite hard to just get into security and land a security job on your first try unless you have a bachelor degree, unless you have studied something that has to do with cybersecurity or computer security or forensics or pen testing or stuff like that. If you have that in your school repertoire, or if you've come from school with that, you will probably land a cybersecurity job to start with. But otherwise, if you don't have it, aim for help desk. It's worth that year. It is so worth it when you look back to it. It can feel like shit when you're sitting there, but it's make the best of it and use those connections. That will get you so damn far.
Yeah, because experience in general is crucial, like in security, I'd say, because you can sort of, I mean, if you have a help desk experience, and then you work in security and you see some port scan, then you could probably deduce some stuff from that, right? Like you might know some weird port scan is actually something else and stuff.
Yeah. And let's continue with the question. What would be more attractive, 3 years computer science or 3 years similar work experience? I'd say work experience beats education every day of the week, every day of the week. And the thing is, when I was working with PCI DSS and we were building those networks to handle payments and stuff, we had a saying, me and my colleagues, we were like 7 people doing this for a couple of years, and we were working our asses off. It was so crazy sometimes. I mean, you can get into the office at 9 in the morning and you can get out at 2 a.m. in the morning. You can just take a cab home and die in your bed, and then you do it for like a couple of weeks in a row because you have something that you need to solve. Something is not working and you're fighting together. It's like an incident. So we worked a lot, but we were saying that working a month at that company and doing what we did for a month was equivalent to 1 year of education trying to learn the thing because of teachers, because of school, because of boring assignments and stuff like that. We learned so much that we didn't think of it as a job. We thought of it as a super well-paid education. So that's what we kept saying to each other. Oh, it's good to be back at this education. They pay us quite well, don't they? So when you compare it to school, it was good pay. When you compare it to a normal job, it was just a normal job. But I would say that if I have to choose between 2 persons on a job, and one has the theoretical knowledge of a thing and have studied it for 5 years with good grades, and then I have person number 2 who has a recommendation that they have worked with it for 5 years, hands-on, I would choose that person if they are otherwise equal, have the same personality, they work equally the same. I would choose the one that has 5-year work experience ahead of the person who has 5 years from school. Yeah. Because school is so different. It's, yeah.
And sort of to continue on that comparison, and like my is what I usually say is also just show interest. Like you have to really be interested in this because it's more than just a job. You don't really stop working at 5 p.m. I mean, most of us go home and we read up on papers or watch some YouTube seminars or DEF CON videos or something.
Yeah, and listen to podcasts while commuting or, yeah.
And like if I had to choose between 2 people and one of them is highly skilled but just tired of everything, but like his CV is awesome. Like he's done it all. But then you can just tell he's just fed up with just everything, life.
He or she.
Just, But then you have someone who is more junior, but like they love this shit. Like they're passionate. Like I picked that person. Absolutely.
Yeah, they have the spark. They are curious. They never want to stop learning.
Yeah.
And see what we're getting back to? Be curious, never stop learning.
And there's so much stuff you can do.
So far.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff you can do at home. And we touched on that before. Like, do some if you think of something interesting, like experiment with it and then write a blog post about it or record a YouTube video if you're more comfortable with a camera than writing, right?
Who would be comfortable with a camera? I hate standing here.
We're in the YouTube generation, David.
Oh no, I'm not. This is the first time I'm on Twitch, just so everyone knows.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You're a future star. Just so
Yeah,
you
I'm a
know.
Twitch virgin. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, you can if you're interested in like network and like network security, like fire up some VMs and just you can just roll out what's it called, security onion.
Yeah.
So and just tap all your network traffic, and it's basically an IDS, but you listen to it, like it captures all like the full packet data. To do that, that's so useful if we're talking about a SOC, because you're on the defensive side. You get to, I mean, you're gonna capture some traffic. You're gonna watch you're gonna read some PCAPs in Wireshark and figure that stuff out. And then when you find something interesting, like write a blog post. It could be a simple WordPress or just a GitHub repo, just a new page or something, or a YouTube video, or like in TikTok. I don't know. Just do something. And then like when
Exactly. I mean,
yeah, like when you apply for a
you
job.
can also.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. You were freezing up a bit there, so now I started talking. I mean, we've been bashing Splunk quite hard, and I'll just say you can actually download Splunk for free, and you can ingest it with 500 megs every day. That's the limit for the free version. But if you spin up a Windows machine, or if you spin up a Linux machine, and you make them log to that Splunk instance, have your firewall log to that as well. It won't be 500 megs a day, I promise you that.
Yeah.
And you can actually try to learn that tool and dig into it and see what can I get out of this, and what will be recorded into Splunk over the var messages, var log messages, if I ingest this type of traffic, if I put this vulnerability into Apache, Tomcat Apache, or whatever. And you can actually try and learn from the Splunk point of view what you can see, and you can learn to do your analysis there, because sometimes you might not have access to the system itself when you're supposed to do an investigation, and you only have access to logs. But it's a way of learning what it can do, and just do it. It's free, and if you Google stuff, there are so many write-ups where you can just follow like steps 1, 2, 3, 4, do this, do that, click this, click there, install this, type this command, and boom, you have your instance up and running, and then you can start working with it. And yeah, it must be awesome to be young in this age, because this stuff wasn't available, and it wasn't free in the late 90s.
Back in our days, David.
When I was younger. No, but it sounds, I know I hate when old people say this to me in this way. Oh, you have all the possibilities in the world, young son. You should do this. There are always different times. And I'm just saying that where I am now, I have worked quite hard to be here. I'm not saying that it's easier today to get where I am, because it depends so much on who you are and what you like and what you want to spend your time doing. But I'm just saying that if I had access to what I have access to now, 25 years ago when I was 20, that would have made such an impact in a slightly bad way, because sleeping is good, and I would probably not be sleeping at all. But there are just so many free things out there, so many write-ups, so many tools, so much on YouTube where you can learn stuff. So yeah, don't neglect it. Actually just embrace it, because in 20-25 years you're gonna be standing here saying the same thing to someone listening, and saying, I don't want to do this, and it's like, oh, if only you had. So yeah,
hopefully you're less grumpy than we are, so I mean, that's just aim for that and you'll be fine.
Don't aim to be this.
Yeah, it's not a good target.
No.
So we got a question from chat from Silka, a favorite moderator. Like, of all the mods, he's my absolute favorite, and only one.
He is.
So David, what's your favorite EDR, NDR, or XDR solution?
Okay. It's a good question, and it depends on the application, and it depends on what I'm after. the EDR solutions available today, this is gonna sound like a politician that doesn't want to answer the question. My favorite XDR solution today is Microsoft Defender for Endpoint using Sentinel and log analytics in the bottom. That's my favorite. Okay, it's out there. But they solve things in a different way, and I actually ran into a problem with Defender the other day. I have an ongoing discussion with Microsoft trying to solve it, and they say this isn't very high up on our priority list. And that makes it kind of boring. So that kind of takes away the awesomeness I was feeling using it. But favorite NDR. I have worked with two of them. I have worked with Vectra AI and I have worked with Darktrace. I've actually been on stage showing Darktrace, and Darktrace has this gamified UI. So it has this super cold globe. It has machines with cables running here and there in some
like in a
3D.
hacker movie or something.
It's just out of any hacker movie. So you get a lot of ooh, ah, wah from the audience when you show demonstrations of it. My favorite NDR, it's hard to choose one of them because they are so clumsy to work with. I most often look at a tool is how good is it to be used in an incident response engagement. NDRs aren't very good to be used in an incident response engagement because they need to sit in an environment and learn the traffic for a couple of weeks before it can actually provide you with anything. So I would say an NDR, if we take a step back, an NDR is like a SIEM. It's super good if you have one, and I come on site and will help you with an incident. If you have one, that's awesome. If you don't have one, it's like, okay, let's do this anyway. I can't really choose between any of those two. I mean, they work differently. They're supposed to find the sort of same thing. I guess Darktrace has a cooler UI, so I chose that one because I've worked more with it. I guess, I don't know. Yeah. They are super expensive, both of them.
I think that my take on that is from a different point of view, I think. Like initially when I got the question, I went to getting a case escalated from a level 1. And then it's sort of like, well, it depends on what I need to do. Like if I, because I, as we said in the beginning, we work with Carbon Black, CrowdStrike, and Microsoft Defender for Endpoints. So like if I have to go live on a computer and like do actual stuff on a computer, Defender for Endpoint is the worst. It's just so slow. It's so dependent on versions. You can't download a complete folder. You have to PowerShell it. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Like if you do that in CrowdStrike, it's awesome. Carbon Black is also really good. DFI by far the worst.
Yeah.
If you need to look at a timeline to understand, what happened, like before and after this alarm or this event, Defender for Endpoints is by far the best. Like process tree, like my personal like opinions.
And
then like for a process overview and sort of scroll out and see the parent process and get from a graphical overview, then Carbon Black's interface is quite nice actually.
If you're running it on a Windows machine.
Yeah, true.
If you're running any of these on a Mac, it will say that the parent process of the process just started is XPS proxy.
Yeah.
And it won't say anything before that one.
Thank you.
So
that helps a lot, right?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So did the user click this? I don't know. Oh, who cares? Yeah. It's running. Yeah. XDR. Well, XDR is like EDR and SIEM combined. That's pretty much it. And well, I would say Microsoft Sentinel is a good example of an XDR. I guess CrowdStrike is a good example of XDR because beneath the surface of CrowdStrike, you actually have Splunk. And there are other EDRs, and if you scratch the surface and dig deeper, you might see that they actually have an elk stack below, which is the sheepish version of Splunk. It works almost the same, slightly different language when you're searching but you can clearly see where they got their inspiration from.
Yeah,
But it's free and it works. So that's also something to look at if you want to dig into a tool. And the question continues. It says, and what's the next big thing in the monitoring world? I think the next big thing in the monitoring world is actually something that Microsoft just bought. They bought a company called CyberX, and they are incorporating it in something they call Defender for IoT. And what I know that they are doing is that you could say it's an NDR, because you need to install an appliance in the network and you need to tap the switchers and routers and whatever you have your IoT equipment on. You will need to tap them into this appliance running Defender for IoT. What it will do is that, depending on the IoT equipment, and I'm not talking about your window blinds going up and down, I'm not talking about your light bulb, I'm talking about the Siemens and the Motorola stuff that sits in your production environment, controlling the conveyor belt, controlling the printers, controlling whatever equipment you might have, photo cells and whatnot. And what I know that Defender for IoT is doing is it's actually interviewing the IoT device. So you can, in CyberX and in Defender for IoT, you can actually get a picture of the back plane. You know what a type of communication bus sits on that IoT device. So I think that's the next big thing. We will see more of that, and we will see it being aimed at the older industries. So if you go by production and like those big old wood mills and maybe car manufacturing and those types of places where you, on a good day, will have a Windows XP device doing stuff, but probably something less you can't monitor really. You will have your Motorola's and your Siemens devices and stuff like that. So I think that's the next big thing in monitoring.
Yeah, I think IoT is gonna be really huge in the future. Like on the blue team aspect of it. We got another question from Scales.
Okay.
What was the biggest, most impactful moment in both of your IT security careers?
I've been talking so much. You can start with this one.
I don't have any like biggest moment, like, because I thought about that before asking the question, and I don't have a good answer actually. It's not a single big moment. It's more like a lot of small ones, which is an insanely boring answer. But it's the truth. Like, I don't have any.
Yeah, I have a couple.
Shoot.
Okay. It goes back a while. A couple of the
1865.
Yes, you know. It was a windy, cold evening. No, not really. Landing a couple of jobs have been quite significant in my life, and I know I cheated my way to get one of them because I phoned them up and I said, "Hey, I want to come and work with you," and they were like, "Oh, cool. What programming languages do you know?" And I was like, "Oh, which one are you working with?" Well, we do ASPs, or they did actually a different version of ASP called DIP. You can Google it, you will probably not find anything, but it was actually some sort of compiling form of ASP. So if you knew ASP, you would know this one. The syntax was slightly different, but it was kind of just reading another dialect. So they said, "Well, we're working with ASP. Do you know ASP?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know ASP. When can I come for an interview?" And they was like, "We were quite busy. Can you come in 2 weeks? We have an opening on a Thursday," or whatever day it was. And I got a book. I have never programmed anything in ASP before that phone call. So I got a book, and every day I go home from the office, I was opening that book and I was reading it, and I was creating my first web pages in ASP, and I just connected it to a database. So this was before the year 2000, and this was before things were called blogs. There were some kind of blogs, but they were called reloads. People just put their diary on in the internet and they called it reload. So I did a reload engine, sort of, in less than 2 weeks. Never touched ASP before. So I went to this company and said, I did this, I've done this web page and I know ASP. And they were like, oh, shit, cool, that's nice, you're hired. And I was like, yeah, cool, okay, so it's easy then. And it wasn't. It was hard as hell. I really had to pull up my sleeves to actually keep my position, but I did work there for quite a while, and it was super fun. That was quite significant. A couple of other things, or at least one thing, was when I did the payment service provider thing. Even though I was there for 5 years, but it felt like 20 because we were working so damn much. I learned Cisco iOS by standing watching over shoulder for a technician who were doing it, and after a couple of hours or something, I kind of got down to knowing which commands to do, what they did, and how you should be able to do it. And then it was just networking and routing. That was kind of easy, I thought. So the day I said that, well, I can do this. I know how to do this now. And my boss said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'll just fix it for you. I'll be right back. And I did it and I nailed it. That was significant. Then I knew that, okay, this is going to be so much more fun. And this just repeats over and over. And I remember when we did the first transaction, going through all the systems, the very first transaction going through, and I actually did the configuration for a checkpoint firewall without ever having seen a checkpoint firewall. I was given credentials to, I think it was R55 or something, an old version. It was almost 10 years ago now, I guess. And I looked at it and said, okay, so you just type this here and type this there. It's like a graphical. You just typing in columns saying, okay, this port to this port, allowed. This port to this port, allowed. There you go. I mean, it's just so easy. Just commit and you're done. It's not like a Junos thing. Never learned them, even though they're impossible to learn. And when we did that first transaction, and I was alone in a huge computer hall. It was freezing cold, sitting on the floor. I had my jacket underneath, but I was still freezing my ass off. My fingers were cold, and I heard all my colleagues at the office on this speaker on my mobile phone, and they were just screaming, "Wah!" And you can hear this receipt being printed on on one of those payment terminals. And I understood that, holy fuck, we just did one of the first PCI DSS approved retail purchases in Sweden. That was, and well, no one threw a parade for us, but we actually needed a parade, I guess. So it's kind of nice to tell the story now, 10 years later.
That's gonna be cool. That's gonna be a
it was
achievement unlocked.
It was such an epic moment. And when you take the cab back to the office and everyone were just so happy and we drank champagne, and yeah, it was so cool. It really was.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I wish I had something that cool. I got like boring stuff.
If you dig deep, don't you have? I mean, you've been telling me about a lot of shit. Oh, I went to London, I did this, then I went to Mexico and did that, and blah blah blah. It's like,
yeah,
I've been in Stockholm all my life.
I think the bravest and most stupid decision I've ever done was because I worked in London for a year. I decided to so like mine is not inside security.
It is brave though. It's brave.
Hi Ricky B, he's back, Mr. MVP from last episode.
Hi Ricky.
So I worked in London for a year, and I decided to quit and to go somewhere else to work. And then I spoke to a recruiter, I think it was on a Wednesday, and they said, hey, so we have a position open in Bogota, in Colombia, but you need to start on Saturday. I'm like,
Saturday.
I don't, by myself, and like, there was one of the times that role was sort of like way out of my league, but they offered it to me. I'm like, I'll do it. I'll do it, and I'm gonna nail it. So I decided to take that job. I left everything I had in London, and like in 3 days' time, I prepared everything. Went to Colombia, not speaking the language, not knowing almost not a word of Spanish, and went there, and like I worked there for a couple of months, and then I went to Mexico for a year. So yeah, that was
But that
cool.
feeling when you've been there for 2 weeks and you're still alive and you're still not sucking at your job.
Yeah. No, I had no idea what I'm doing, and I still don't. So that's sort of the general guideline through my career. It's my disclaimer. I have no idea what I'm doing.
But I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So, David, I'm gonna throw a new segment at you that as I said last episode, I completely stole it from Gary Vee, who is like a big YouTube influencer dude. It's called Overrated, Underrated.
Okay.
So basically, I throw words at you, or topics, or stuff, or something, and then you tell me if you think it's overrated or underrated, or like normally properly rated.
Is this timed? So do I get how long do I get to think about it?
No, you reply instantly, and
okay.
with one word, or like
Let's do it.
10 minutes. I don't care.
Okay.
So 0 days, are those overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Why?
I think they're underrated because they impose such a huge problem to the whole industry that we are working with. Just read up on cybersecurity, read up on how the United States disabled the nuclear research facilities in Iran. There are so many things. How the Russia hacked the power grid in Ukraine using exploits for different systems, and basically 0 days. So 0 days are definitely underrated, and we need to get our head into the game so much faster. And it boils down to that companies producing systems, they really need to take the responsibility and be open with the flaws they have and be super fast fixing them. So definitely underrated.
Awesome. So work or life balance? Work-life balance.
This is a tough one. This is a psychological one.
I know.
I think it's well, for me, it's obviously important. I have a wife and I have 2 kids and I have a house. I have a hobby as well, which
the question
I never get.
Is she watching this? Because that's going to impact your answer, right?
I hope she is. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But she's not. Sadly enough, she's not. She's probably she's awake. It's only 9:30. I think it's to have a work and life balance is also underrated. You really need to have one. You, depending on what you work with. I mean, if you work as much as Mikael and I do, when we are getting thrown into incidents, it's super important that you have your coach, that you have your team behind you. Even you have one team at work and you have another team at home. So, for an example, I got to bed at 3:30 one morning after working a seriously crazy shift. My alarm went off at 6:15, so it's time to get up. And for some reason, my wife noticed when I went to bed and memorized the time. So I was just trying to sit up in bed at 6:15, and she was like, "David, go back to sleep. I'll take care of the kids. Just sleep." And that's teamwork. Yeah. And that's someone having your back. Because if I was alone with those 2 kids, that they would have been shit. So that's what I mean with it's underrated to not. It's underrated. You really need to have a really good life-work balance in the sense that those periods when you're working a lot, because you will if you get into cybersecurity, if you choose to. You can also choose not to, but if you choose to, it's super important to have your team. It's super important to have the balance, because you cannot just It's like a glass of water. And every time you do an incident like this, you're pouring from the glass, but you need to refill the glass from time to time as well. Otherwise, it will dry up, and but it will not be very fun times. So you will need to refill it, and that's where the balance comes in. So take care of your loved ones. But we were I don't remember if we were talking about it or if we were just writing about it, because we referenced the movie. We referenced the movie Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
I think we were just typing.
Yeah, pre-show.
Yeah, exactly, pre-show. And if you haven't seen it, go see it. This is borderline spoiler. So disconnect. If you haven't seen it, disconnect now and come back in 2 minutes. No, it's about a guy. It's about a guy going to Iraq and clearing mines. And you can clearly see that it's a shitty job. It's tough as hell being there. But when he gets home, it's like he's having apathy. He's not doing much. He's just sitting, and everything is just even shittier. And the only time he's alive is when he's in his bomb suit, walking in between in this ruins in the city, trying to clear mines and making the world safer there. It resonates very well with me, because I'm not saying that I'm not alive when I'm with my family, but I'm definitely alive when I'm helping the team doing incident response engagement. I love being with my kids and playing games and being in the woods and going for a hike or whatever. That's super fun. But oh my God, doing incident response engagements, it's hard to beat that.
It's like a drug, as you like to say.
Yeah, it is a drug.
Yeah, super good answer. All right. So next topic, Daft Punk.
Oh, okay. I think,
which is now a thing anymore because they split up.
Yeah, they have. So I think they're both in a way. So in the beginning, in the 1990s, I think they were underrated when they started, and then they became super popular, and they went the sellout is not very nice calling, yes, but they were on MTV all the time with the song Around the World and some other songs as well. And they had this, I think they had 3 different videos that you should see in a row because they were kind of interlinked in some way. And I thought that was, oh, come on, this is overrated. Why is everyone falling for this? This is shit. The music isn't very good anymore. And then they kind of disappeared for a while, and then they came back. And when they started working with other artists, like The Weeknd a couple of years ago with the song Starboy, to me they become underrated again, because that production is just so awesome. So yeah, underrated, became overrated, went back to underrated, and now they're no more. So
yeah,
that's my answer to Daft Punk.
They're flowing back and forth, basically.
I didn't say Daft Punk, I said Daft Punk. You should listen. Oh, okay, sorry. No, sorry.
So back to some security stuff again. What about honeypots? Are they overrated or underrated?
They are underrated. In a way underrated. There are different companies doing honeypots. I think Thinkst Canary is a really cool honeypot, and it's underrated. It's overrated in the sense that they say you should buy a shitload of them and sprinkle them across your network. I think that's overrated. When it comes to underrated, I think they can provide you with so much information if you use them right, if you use a honeypot right. I was actually running 3 honeypots on the internet for 10 months. If I push all, and this is where Splunk comes in. If I push all the logs into Splunk, I will get something around 10 million lines of logs. And the only thing my honeypot did was allowing people to log in through SSH if they, according to a password list I had, they would land in a Python virtual environment. So they would not get access to my file system. They would get access to a virtual file system where they could download files. So I could see that they tried the different types of passwords. I could see them log on. I could see them download malicious code, malicious scripts, but they couldn't execute them. So they went from like having a cool name to an easier name to super easy name, and then to be called fuck.bash or whatever, because it didn't work. And the thing is, every time they downloaded something to my honeypot, that honeypot software, I was running Curry, that honeypot software copied the file to the real file system into a folder where only that process could write. And then I could come in to my honeypot and just extract them. So for a while, I had a lot of tools that could be used to do quite a lot of damage. But I chose to actually just send everything to Microsoft. So every time I got something new, I know a couple of times I had something that wasn't even on VirusTotal. So I just sent it to Microsoft, where you can upload stuff and write stuff, and said, I found this on my honeypot. And that would, in the way, actually increase the protection for the Microsoft Defender. Yeah, I guess it comes back to I'm trying to make the world a better place every day. So that was one of the ways I did it. So honeypots definitely underrated. Before you start one, please read up on how they work. Don't just put a machine on the internet, because if you lose control over it, it's gone. Yeah. It can be used for some pretty bad stuff. So make sure you follow protocol. Make sure you know what you're doing, because it can be worse than not putting it there. So if you do it right, it's super good, and you can learn so much from it. So I say underrated, and I say do it, investigate it, be curious, never stop learning.
Maybe do some write-ups.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, the thing was, touching upon that one, I went through, I allowed some passwords so they could log in, but I got an insane amount of passwords that they were trying. So I actually did some Splunk searches and did some statistics for this, and I presented it to the company where I was working. And what I noticed that would be a safe password was actually question mark. I have to look at my keyboard. I'm so too tired. Exclamation mark, lower letter Q, A, Z, and then they had the @ sign, which means that they were on an English keyboard, or a couple of other, but they were not on a Swedish keyboard, because you have the quote sign there. On Shift 2, you have the quote. So if I would do a password that said Shift 1, exclamation mark, QAZ, Shift 2, that would give me the quote, and then WSX. That would be a password they would never try, because on an English keyboard, that's way on the right, in the middle row somewhere, almost close to the Enter key. So that was a cool finding. So all the hackers listening to this, change, if you're attacking a Swedish company, change to a Swedish code page on the keyboard. That might get you somewhere.
So is that your password now?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay, just making sure.
But what occurred to me is that combination never appeared in the logs, but the exclamation mark QAZ, and then the @ sign, WSX, that appeared a lot of times. So that was a cool finding. Having the Swedish keyboard layout could actually keep you safe. Change to Swedish what? Keyboard layout. If you have your keyboard, if you change the keyboard layout, you will get a letter A with a ring over it on the right side of P. And on the right side of L, you will get the umlaut O, and followed by the umlaut A. So the keyboard layout, yes, the keyboard layout. So if you change it to Swedish when attacking a Swedish company, that could actually take you further than having an English one. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, when attacking, switch to
too
local
good of
stuff.
a tip. Yeah, exactly. Read out on who you're attacking and change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not born yesterday. No, I'm sorry. I'm tired and I'm not pronouncing.
But it's hard
words.
because we have no idea about like what the people in chat know or don't know. So it's hard.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so let's continue on with some overrated, underrated.
Okay,
What about certifications?
I would say overrated. And it brings me back to
I agree.
The rant we had about work experience versus school experience. I don't have any certifications.
I have one.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe no, like 2 or 3 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a
Nothing.
certification in some application that we are supposed to use, but when someone says certifications, I tend to see. I mean, do you have a certificate from SANS? Are you an ethical hacker? Are you
Yes and yes.
those? Oh, amazing. No, I mean those types of things that actually matters. I don't care if you have a certificate in Excel. That's not the one I mean. So yeah.
I actually have one in SCCM, though I've never really worked with SCCM, so that's interesting.
Oh, cool.
Long story. Another episode.
Episode 4.
Yeah, episode 4.
Michael's SCCM adventure.
Yeah, 2 hours of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have CISSP? I do not. I don't think David has either. But
No.
And that's one of those.
Clueless information security specialist. That's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good acronym.
I think that's one and CEH are getting shit on a lot, and I don't really like it because you take certs for different reasons. Perhaps you take a cert because it will help you to learn more stuff, in which case I'd say they're not that good. In some cases, you need a CISP to get past HR. Like, there's no way you'll get past HR into the security, into the CISO. Like, your CV will never end up at the CISO if HR is blocking it because you don't have CISP. So,
that's true.
Like, there's that reason. And also, it's like CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker. I think that was a crappy course. But I see it on so many places. They're like, oh, you should have this cert. Like, it's a way in. Not for the end person, the end manager, but, to get past HR and stuff. I think they have their reasons. They have their usefulness, I'd say.
I have a couple of, let's call them acquaintances now, because I've been working together with them, but they were consultants. A couple of them, they have this CISP, and they were incredibly intelligent people, and they were amazingly knowledgeable. You could ask them anything, and they could explain it to you in the proper way, so you can understand it. I'm not saying that's because of the certification. I'm saying that's because of who they are. But they had the CISP, and so, like you say, it gets thrown a lot of shit at it, but it's hard to say if it's a good or a bad certification. But I know a couple of people who has the badge, and they are very intelligent and they are very knowledgeable. So maybe they just went there and wrote the test and went home again without studying. I don't know.
Because you don't know the backstory, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, like, if you're a consultant and you don't have CISP, and then you're supposed to go on a big engagement, and that client is like, oh, our consultant has to have CISP. You're like, why? Oh, because the client might be shit. So, I'll take CISP and then go consult for them for 2 years or something. So why not? So they have their purposes.
I don't really agree with one of the comments saying that that's why CISOs in Sweden sucks, because they strive to have CISP. I think it depends on the person. I happen to know, I would say, a lot of CISOs for different companies, quite huge ones, global companies, and none of them are striving to have the CISP. Some of them has the badge, they've earned it, and some of them don't. But they are, maybe it's my filter bubble. Maybe I don't know shitty CISOs. Maybe there are a lot of shitty CISOs, but I don't happen to know them. And in my filter bubble, those who work as a CISO, I don't want to name any of them, but I know quite a lot of them. And it comes back to they are intelligent and knowledgeable people. Yeah. And maybe that's why they don't strive to get it, and maybe that's why they're not shitty at their job and so on. But I guess there are shitty CISOs, but I haven't run across one yet.
Yeah, and regardless of the position, some people are good, some people are shit. So hi, Mikael Almstedt, I just want to say hi. We worked together for many years ago. So hi.
Hi, Michael.
Good to see you in chat, man. Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's. I have one last overrated, underrated for you, David.
Oh, okay.
The last one.
It's the toughest one, isn't it?
Yeah, APTs.
Yeah.
Are APTs overrated or underrated? And this is your opinion, not the general or your employer or
No.
something. Like, what's your take on it?
I would say underrated because we've seen them do so much damage. Every time I'm up against an APT, it's serious. They're not giving up. They have all the resources they need. They can just walk up to their boss and say, I need more CPU, I need more RAM, and they will get it. They are serious. So I would say they are underrated because of the impact they have done historically, the impact they are doing right now, and God knows what they will do tomorrow.
Yeah. And to sort of expand on it, I think it's also like the long answer I'd say is depending on the threat model of that organization or company. I mean, if you're a telecom company or you're a bank, I mean, APTs is on your horizon.
Oh, they're already in.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to get in, they'll get in eventually.
Yeah,
that's why, and that's I think I said last episode as well. I like to like assume breach, like just assume that they're on the inside, and go from there. I mean, that's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, APT, yeah, is the United States an APT when they attacked Iran? I suppose so.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'd say they were advanced and persistent. So
yeah, they were super advanced,
and they were state sponsored. So I mean, yeah.
I mean, when you take apart the code they wrote, that they attacked those centrifuge in that way they did, it's not something your average coder does, I guess.
Yeah.
And the resources they had, so they could buy these stuff and test it in a lab before they deployed it. It's just crazy. And Olympic Destroyer, and the way it was performed and the way they tried to perceive where the code came from, and they had a lot of times on their hands, but it's not a script kiddie with your mommy's visa, that's for sure. If you want to draw the line to something,
yeah, probably not. This concludes my list of overrated, underrated. I think it's a fun segment to just expand on stuff, like to throw stuff at you that you're not prepared to answer either.
Ooh, here's a tough one. Have you ever been threatened in real life because of your work? Luckily enough, I have never.
I have sort of.
Bogota again, though, right?
No, it was actually at a fintech company in Sweden. Really, really, really long story. Started with some idiot on LinkedIn just commenting on shit stuff. Ended up with him coming to my workplace, handing me a painting, which was basically a horror painting of a suicide.
Whoa.
And like, this is for you. You can have this. Like,
Jesus. What did you do to piss him off?
Yeah, long story. I think we'll do that offline.
Okay.
So that was...
Michael remembers this, he says. Yeah,
that was
okay.
Fucking weird. But yeah, that's...
Jesus. Yeah, luckily enough, never been there. Never experienced it.
Pretty strange. But yeah, that's... so that wasn't really a threat, but sort of... yeah.
Jeez, that's police report stuff.
Yeah.
It is.
Fucking strange.
Yeah.
Right, David, did I forget to bring up anything, or is there anything you want to sort of touch on again, or
no? Ricky mentions if we've heard about the one guy threatening to kill, I think it was Daniel Stenberg then. No, I've actually missed it.
I did.
Okay, now I missed that. Curl is such an amazing tool to use. So yeah.
But that was weird, because like the curl creator Daniel Stenberg, he he usually posts stuff like screenshots of mail that he gets from people who are like, "Why are you hacking my web server? I see you in my logs." He's like, "It's curl." And like NASA uses Perl. It's on Mars, I think.
Yeah.
And like everyone
Yeah,
uses curl. And then there was
okay.
like one guy who literally like threatened him to death in an email because
he created
something destroyed his startup thingy something.
Yeah.
Like really really weird shit. I think he posted that on Twitter and some screenshots. So yeah, if anyone wants to read that, that's strange.
Yeah, so weird. But there are crazy people in the world.
Yeah, he gets a lot of crazy people.
Yeah.
I did not keep the painting. I think it's still at that workplace. It's so bizarre. I'm gonna try to get a screenshot of it or like a photo or something. I think I still know people there, so yeah, it's super weird, man. I'm gonna have to show you.
I missed the thing. One comment in the chat. FXR 5460 says Windows fanboys, and I'm on a Mac. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah,
I'm on a Mac here. I'm on a Mac there. Yeah.
I'm a Windows fanboy. Yeah. I got it all over the place. I think I'm decent in Linux. I don't know. I couldn't even start up a Mac, I think.
I think you can. You just push a button, it says bam, and then it boots, and then you're done. Then you have to log in, of course. But it's thought TrueSec was all about Windows. No, we're not. It's kind of interesting. A lot of Windows people, lots of our MVPs get a lot of attention. So that's why people think that TrueSec is a Windows shop. That's why TrueSec only promotes Windows or have a partnership with Microsoft. If you start to talk to any of our pen testers or red teamers or security coding people, if you get on the inside of the walls of TrueSec, you will see that there are very few Windows people, but those few Windows people makes a lot of noise in a good way. But there are definitely more Linux people at TrueSec, but they don't seek the attention is the wrong word to use. Let's call it language limitations, because I can't find a better one. But we have so many amazing colleagues that doesn't really like Windows or Microsoft at all. So no, TrueSec is not all about Windows. I would say TrueSec is about choosing the right tool for the assignment and choosing the right tool for the job. It's like using a hammer when you need a hammer and using a screwdriver when you need a screwdriver.
And using a SIEM when you need a SIEM.
What does your pen testers do? I think you need to do another episode. You need to get Eric online. You need to get Rasmus here. You need to get David and the lot on your show and let them talk about it. I'm the wrong person to answer it. If you want to know what they do, give them a call.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Order a pen test.
Yeah, I think they happily answer questions of what they do and stuff. So no problems there, I'd say.
No. You have MS as a partner, and that may be the thing with people see in using LinkedIn. Yeah. That might be so.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of it projects that way because our Windows MVPs are like really, really like skilled Windows MVPs, and they're really like public figures. So it's
yeah.
I mean, like a couple of years ago, I thought TrueSec was like a Windows shop. I did.
Yeah, I mean, if you get to those infrastructure summits or the cybersecurity summit, you will see people hacking in Windows. So yeah, I guess it can be perceived in that way because of that. But I'm just telling you that's not the whole truth.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love Windows.
We figured, yeah, Ricky, cool, you're smart. Yeah, Macs are totally safe. Yeah, sure. I was on stage presenting that as well. it touches on cybersecurity again, and it touches on threat intelligence. I know companies that first and foremost use Windows. The Windows machine is locked down in a way, so the employee can't do much. At some places, they can't even change the desktop background, which annoys them a lot. And then you move up the chain a bit, and you see that the CEO doesn't really oblige to these rules because he just went to an Apple store and bought an Apple MacBook because he thinks it's shiny and he wants it. And he tells the IT staff that I'm going to use this one, make it work. And they have no idea how they should monitor it, and they can't lock it down because they don't have the tools to do it. They need to procure a completely new tool to make it work, Jamf or whatever it's called, I don't know.
Yeah,
and that CEO thinks that his shiny new MacBook is completely safe. He doesn't need any antivirus. He has turned on file vault, so the disk is encrypted, which is good. But he doesn't have any other protection. And he's one of the most one of those people that will get the most fraudulent emails. The attacker will pretty quickly understand that this person doesn't have a Windows machine, he has a Mac machine. And if you look at all the threats that has hit the Mac OS platform the past year or past 2 years, you will see that the Macintosh platform is not safe. I was on stage presenting a report where I had just had a timeline and I had a lot of bullets with some callouts for some serious threats hitting Mac. And I just presented it in this way, saying that the person using this machine is one of the most valuable people at the office because of the execution power he has or she has. It's the CEO, it's the CFO, and they have a platform that's not protected. And you think that Macs are safe. It's like, yeah. It's so bad.
Yeah, I have some horror stories. I spent a very short time at a fintech company. It's not the one on my LinkedIn profile, so no, that's not the one. Which was a like heavy Mac shop, and I wanted to like introduce EDR to them, and like I wanted to introduce vulnerability management and an EDR basically, and it was refused, like a complete no, because Macs you can't hack Macs from the CISO. So I'm just like, and like initially I thought it was like a joke, like, oh, okay, no, like just no, like we don't need it. Like, no, we are a Mac shop, so we don't need EDR or any form of AV or stuff. So like that's it. Like, yeah, okay.
Aren't we helping a company right now who has a shitload of Macs?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are. And they had a SOC that were only using a SIEM and not an EDR to monitor them. So there you go.
That didn't turn out well.
That didn't. No, I feel pity for them, both the company and the SOC company. But yeah, can't hack Macs. Yeah, he said that.
Yeah, like he literally said that I wasn't even allowed to do a proof of concept with an EDR because you can't hack Macs. Like, okay, so that's reassuring. It's hard to go from there. Like, okay, so what do you want me to do then? If that's a threat model, like we don't need to worry about anything because we run Macs. Okay, sure.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, shit, we've been talking for 2 hours.
2 hours and 5 minutes. That's a long time, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be some serious editing getting this one done. Cutting away all the bullshit.
Yeah, I'm gonna call in sick on Monday and do this. So just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything exactly. Yeah, so that's exactly. Ricky B says in chat, everything that's claimed to be unhackable is worth giving a shot, and that's like that. That's how you get a free pen test.
Yeah.
You put your shit on Twitter and say like, we just did some unhackable
exactly
product. There was something like a week ago when they said that this was unhackable. I don't remember what it was.
It's not going to turn out well. I've heard it. I've heard it over a quite long time span, and
Yeah.
every time some company. Okay, so this one goes back to my days at payment stuff. A company called Ingenico, I think it was Ingenico, put out a payment terminal saying we have an extra chip for hacking. If you remove the shell, if you remove the cover, it will factory default. It will blow some fuses. It was basically a bomb, not really, but
Tamper-proof stuff.
It was tamper-proof. It would fry some ICs, and it was supposed to be unusable. And they said this payment terminal cannot be hacked. And I think it took less than 2 weeks before someone were playing Tetris on the display. So you should, and I mean, if you can play Tetris on that one, how many companies and organizations are going to buy your terminal? So, I mean, it was just so much bad press for them. And they had to do, some seriously turning the codes, and it was just crazy. You can, if you Google payment terminal playing Tetris and you get a result for like 9 or 10 years back, you will see what I mean. It was just horrendous. And history repeats itself. So every time an organization says we've done this and this is unhackable, it will take you a very short amount of time, because a lot of people, that's fuel to a lot of people.
Yeah.
They will just hack it.
I love when people run games on stuff that shouldn't run games.
Yeah.
Like the coolest one I've seen recently was someone playing, was it Wolfenstein or Doom on a pregnancy test? That was awesome. Have you seen that one?
No.
I'll put it in the show notes in the YouTube's like details.
Yes.
It's
Send it
awesome.
over. I want to see it. Doom.
Yeah, Doom. Yeah. Playing Doom on
Okay.
a pregnancy test. That's amazing.
Doom on a pregnancy test.
Yep.
Imagine the CPU power in a pregnancy test.
Yeah.
I know Doom it isn't the hardest game on a CPU to play, but I mean a pregnancy test.
Imagine if you buy
It's not supposed to do much.
Imagine if you buy a pregnancy test and you have to finish Doom on it in order to know if your test was positive or negative.
Yeah.
That would be cool,
yeah.
though.
Exactly. Killing the monster or not killing the monster. Ricky B says the T-Mobile Austria and their awesome security. Thank you for bringing it up. I had that one stored away in my memory, locked it in a box somewhere, but you just brought it out in daylight. Yes, I remember that.
That was a shit show. Do you remember it well enough to recap for anyone who didn't hear it?
No, I don't.
But basically the Twitter feed, right?
Yes, they wrote on Twitter that they had amazing security and they didn't need whatever it was, some sort of protection. No, I don't remember. Yeah. But they went on Twitter and they said something which the whole community laughed at.
Yeah.
I thought they were crazy. I remember okay. So Ricky B fills in and say they stored passwords in Clear because they had awesome security to protect it. Exactly. Customer passwords. Yes. Yep.
I mean, they should have just blamed it on the intern.
Yeah. They should.
like SolarWinds did, if you heard it.
Yeah, they blamed it on some intern. That was good management. That was, boss of the year.
Yeah. That's crap. So, Scale says pregnancy tests is better than a gaming PC. That's true. It's more convenient, at least.
Yeah, it's portable.
Exactly.
Aha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Ricky, for reminding me of the T-Mobile. There are so many fun things.
Ricky, man, we missed you in the beginning. Just so you know. Pregnancy cluster. Yeah, we should do that. Instead of Raspberry Pis, just have a pregnancy test cluster.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Running Rainbow Six Siege. I'd play that.
Yeah. I think there's one thing that we haven't really talked about. I think it came as a question before the show, and we discussed it yesterday. And I think we have talked about common cases. If the question about common cases isn't answered clear enough, write to Mikael, and Mikael and I will provide an answer. The question that we haven't talked about
correct.
is the biggest mistakes.
Yeah.
And I thought about writing something to that, something long. Or
I have a short answer.
Yeah, and I just put down 4 words in my own show notes for this one. And the biggest mistake is not monitoring entry points. And by not monitoring entry points, I mean you should have detection on your EDR, because the EDR is where the person sits who will click the phishing link from getting an email that hasn't been filtered out by your email cleaning service. So you need to monitor that one, because it doesn't matter how much you will give persons or your staff in awareness training, it will still be that one time someone is tired and not seeing all the little details, and they will click the link and they will give away their credentials to your company, to their account in the company. And as a SOC, as a manned SOC, you need to monitor these devices every second of every day and every day of the year. So the biggest mistake that you can do is not monitoring your endpoints.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the internet is built on clicking stuff. Like you're supposed to click stuff. That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the hard part. And then you tell people don't click on stuff. Like, well, that's how it's supposed to do.
It's designed to be clicked on.
Exactly. So that's the challenge, I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay. So my take on the biggest mistake you can do, and this probably, well, it's basically don't forget to put it in block mode.
Yeah,
because we've seen that before in incidents. You have an EDR, and like usually when you deploy an EDR, you put it in like listening mode or whatever it's called for like a week or so, just to make sure that you're not supposed to block like production stuff and nothing breaks basically. But then after that, you put it into block mode, so you block malicious stuff. Yeah. But we even can encounter stuff where companies has not put it in block mode. Yeah. And shit happened. So if you have an EDR, put it in block mode once you've like it's learned enough basically. That's my short answer.
Yeah. How to convince your company to deploy an EDR is a question from Ricky in the chat. That's a quite easy one actually. You should try ransomware on like all your servers and endpoints. That's a pretty easy way to persuade someone to put in an EDR, but you should put it in an EDR before you get that. So what you should do to convince your company to do an EDR, I say order a red team exercise, or order you can start more easily actually. You can start by just doing a health check, getting some checkboxes to see where do we have some faults or flaws, where are we good, what do we ace, and where do we need to improve, that kind of thing. I would like to say that moving to a pen test is step 2, and moving to a full-scale red team exercise is take number 3. And if you do any of those, preferably all 3, that will give you enough evidence and enough information to get an EDR in. I'm curious to know that if you don't have an EDR, what do you have? Do you have an AV and a SIEM? I'm not laughing because I think it's funny and you're screwed. I'm laughing because we've talked for 2 hours. We've talked about this, and an AV is not an EDR, and an EDR is not a SIEM, and you need all 3.
I don't think Rico was here in the beginning, so he might
have
missed stuff.
To his defense, he wasn't. So how to convince your company to deploy? Do health check, do penetration test, do red team exercises. That will give you give you what you need.
I've been in that position in companies, and it's hard. Like I've been in a position where you run an AV and then you run some from a SIEM, to just try to catch stuff basically, and then you try to convince your manager and like management that you need an EDR, and it's expensive. It's way more expensive than what you're currently using, probably. Yeah, it's hard. It might also be hard to get them to order a red team exercise, because that's also time consuming and expensive. While that would be like awesome, but I'd say like try to convince them to run a POC, a proof of concept, And in that proof of concept, the company who like is supplying the EDR does some form of health check, some form of threat hunting, and you have a proof of concept for some period of time. And like hopefully that will find stuff, bad stuff that's in your environment that will prove its worth like instantly, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And your former colleague Mikael has a good question as well. How do you convince the MD to spend 500K on something they don't understand? It's our job to make them understand. It's probably your job as well. And so the question would be, how do you make them understand? I would say if you're in Sweden and your MD doesn't understand why they should spend 500K on this, they should Google AdTech, ADDTECH, AdTech. It's over a year ago now, but I think the ransomware attack they experienced cost them around 600 million Swedish crowns. And they didn't pay ransom. 600 million was the loss in their share. It was working hours, and it was, even though I think they had I don't remember, I think there was an insurance company as well stepping in. They have recovered on the share-wise because they went public with it. They did just like Norsk Hydro, and they went public, and that actually made them recover the share part a lot faster than we've seen other companies do who hasn't gone public with it. So when you get hit, it's not if, it's when. It will be very costly. And I see it more or less as a cheap insurance to have this prevention, actually. It's not an insurance either, because my insurance for my house doesn't prevent my house from being burglared or burned to the ground or something like that. So it's not comparable. It was a bad that was a bad example, David. But it will be super costly when the attackers get in, depending on their mission. Some threat actors get in, steal the data, put it on the internet, and they ransom you to say that we're going to release this stuff if you're not paying us. And then they put ransomware on the servers and say, you're going to pay us again if you want your stuff back. And then we have the nation state threat actors that get in and just want to steal the IP and lurk around and not try to make that much noise.
Yeah, and that's what we call a double ransom.
Like, exactly.
It's like when they ransom you, like we'll leak this stuff publicly if you don't pay the ransom, and you also need to pay the ransom to like unlock the ransomware on your computers. So a double ransom. And I think TrueSec has a tech talk on this subject like next week. It's called Leaksware Talk or something.
Oh yeah.
So
that's a good one. That will be interesting. Yeah. Leakware. Yeah.
Oops. There we go. So yeah, and that might make you to go bankrupt. I mean, if you're if you're researching COVID vaccines. And you're about to make a breakthrough, and you get hacked, and your stuff gets leaked. Like everyone can. That's I'm not in the medical industry, but that sounds like bankruptcy incoming to me.
Yeah, in 3, 2, 1, and so on.
Yeah.
I mean, every attack can end in a very bad way, I mean, there are so many companies out there, and I don't have any statistics on how many have gone under due to cyber incident attack. But just look at the Finnish company. It was a firm with psychologists, right?
Yeah.
It was hacked, and they threatened to leak all the information about the patients online. And these patients were people in need. They
leaked a few also.
They did leak a few also, yes. And the firm actually had to go bankrupt. So it can happen. It can definitely happen.
I I think there's some Twitter figure who keeps track of companies that went bankrupt due to compromised, stuff, hacked basically. I don't want to say hacked, but that's basically it.
Owned, hacked. I don't know.
So I mean, there's
infiltrated.
There's a bunch. Exactly.
Infiltrated might be a good word because some people are just lurking around and reading your emails and so on. Scales has a question. Would you say that you have your dream jobs right now? And is there something more you would like to do in your daily work that you might not have time for? I'll start with the second part first. And the short answer is, Michael just said it, Michael and I talk every day and we work together. And there is a lot of stuff that we would like to do on a daily basis that we don't have time for right now. And would I say I have my dream job? I would say yes. I would actually say yes. There isn't any other place that I would like to be right now. It feels like I'm doing good stuff every day. It feels like I'm protecting companies so they can keep their jobs, so they can keep their businesses. So employees in those companies can keep their houses and continue living their lives as they should be doing. That's what I keep telling myself every day I get up. Today is a good day. Today we're gonna defend some defenseless people. They are good at doing their stuff. They're good at doing their production. They shouldn't be doing cybersecurity because Michael and I know cybersecurity. So let's do cybersecurity for them so they can do what they are good at. So yes, I think I have my dream job right now, and I get to stand here and talk to all of you, and that's also super cool. So,
dream job is it's a
tough one.
That's a hard thing to say yes to. So I say probably. And then,
okay, my dream job is driving an F1 car, but I'm 44 years old, so that's never gonna happen. Next life.
But then other stuff that I like to do, there's. I mean, I wish I could do reverse engineering. But I don't know any reversing. I don't have any time slots where I could sort of learn that either at the moment. It's just filled with other stuff. So I wish I had time to learn, to reverse engineer malware and stuff. That would be... I want to know assembly. I want to know IDA Pro and stuff, and just reverse the shit out of things that we get in. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. I want to learn Russian, and I want to be better at attribution. I want to be better at finding out who did this and why they did it. That would be cool. Russian would be cool because a lot of people who are threat actors speak Russian.
Yep.
So, anywho, Ricky wanna learn Russian as well. Yeah, let's do it, Ricky.
Let's reverse stuff together. I wish I had more time. That's basically. So that's probably
cool.
The thing I'd say. Dream job, I mean, I like it. I think it's a mix because I like to sort of help people and work together, and the fact that I can work together with our level 1s and level 2 analysts is and the incident response team and stuff is, I think that's my favorite part.
It's so cool.
To do stuff together. That's awesome to me.
Oh. I have no what it says. It says something with Russia in the end.
I have no idea. It probably says you guys are fucking awesome. In which case I agree.
Maybe it was the first one. I don't remember. I knew this 30 years ago. I knew the Russian alphabet, but I think it says something Russia at the end.
I also know Moose only knows trash talk in FPS games, so that's definitely something from there.
Okay, so this was an insult. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost guaranteed an insult because I know Moose. Okay. I know his Russian language skills.
Is it Google Russian or is it Russian?
I have no idea. Google Russian probably.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, David. Maybe we should start to wrap things up. We're talking for 2.5 hours. It's by far the longest episode.
Yeah, but when you get a chatty guy like me on, that's what you're gonna end up with.
Never shut up. I love that.
I don't.
Awesome. It's perfect.
But we got so many good questions. It was super reading them in the chat and just taking one by one. It was super. And then we had some other weird guy who has his messages deleted by moderator. I love that.
Yeah, Silica with a
Good one,
mod
Silica.
hammer. The ban hammer is swinging tonight. That's good.
And I mean, when we started, it was like 18 people, and it's still 15 people. 2.5 hours later, still 15 people here.
On a Friday night. I think that's
but
amazing.
Exactly. Seriously, I'm humbled. Thank you so much. I thought it was just gonna be Mikael and I, because I'm not really well known in any way. So I hope you've had everyone in the chat or listening in, so I seriously hope you got something from this. That it wasn't just 2.5 hours of bullshitting.
Just madman ramblings.
Yeah, exactly. If I had hair, it would be gray. So it's a pandemic we have in our life now. Okay, that's sad.
That's true.
That's so bloody sad. Yeah. Okay. No, seriously, I hope you got something out of this. I hope it wasn't just a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, same here. And like, thanks for coming, David. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was super fun.
I'm gonna force you to come on again, just so you know.
Yeah, I'll be back. When you, if you have a show that with a guest who doesn't show up, just give me a call and I'll be here, and we'll wing something for 2 hours.
Awesome.
Easy. Yeah. Super.
I'm gonna post something in the YouTube description. It's from a Swedish hacking conference called SecT.
Okay.
I accidentally sat in the front row when a magician / pickpockets guy or thief was on stage. He grabbed me, picked me up on stage, and then pickpocketed me in front of the camera and stage, and took my phone, my wallet, and my watch and my wallet.
And you didn't notice?
No, and I knew he was pickpocket. I knew he was gonna take it, because that's the reason I got up there. I still didn't see it coming.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm gonna post that link in the in the YouTube details, just so you know.
Do it.
It's awesome.
That would be fun to see.
Now I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna shut up now. So thanks, guys, for joining us. That was awesome.
All of you, thanks for all the good questions. Thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Awesome, guys. All right, see you guys. Bye.
Bye.
See you.
Inside security.